Number 10. The sugar high lie. You probably think of a cult leader as some kind of charismatic supervillain with a hypnotic gaze and an army of hypnotized followers. But that's just the movie version. The truth is, most cults don't start with fire and brimstone sermons or mind control rays. They start with a friend inviting you to a dinner party. And it's at this dinner party that you encounter your first psychological trap, the sugar high lie. No, I'm not talking about actual sugar highs, which, by the way, aren't even a real thing. They're just your brain confusing sugar with excitement and a lack of self-control. I'm talking about something far more insidious. In the early days, cults create an illusion of constant positive reinforcement. This isn't about being happy, it's about being in a state of high arousal excitement. The group activities are loud, lively, and full of group hugs. The speeches are passionate and full of promises. The communal meals are rich with sugar and carbs, giving you a temporary jolt of energy that you subconsciously associate with the group itself. Your brain, which is basically just a glorified toddler, loves this. It's getting a dopamine hit every time you interact with these people. So when you're standing in a room full of people chanting and holding hands, you're not feeling a spiritual awakening. You're feeling a biological one. You're getting the same rush as a kid who just discovered the magic of an all-you-can-eat ice cream buffet, and your brain is telling you, wow, this feels great. I should do this more often. The cult isn't selling you a new way of life. It's selling you a cheap and easy hit of dopamine, and your body is literally getting addicted to the group dynamic. It's like a cheap carnival ride. Exciting, a little nauseating, and when you get off, you realize you just spent $20 to spin around in circles for a minute. Number 9. The grand illusion of free will. Okay, so you've been to the dinner party and you feel great. You've been invited back for a seminar or a retreat or maybe a week-long wellness workshop that costs a suspiciously large amount of money. And you go. Why? Because you're making a conscious choice, right? You're a rational human being with a brain that can weigh pros and cons. Except you're not. At this point, the cult is already playing a game of psychological chess with you. They're not just inviting you to a thing, they're framing it as your idea. A good cult recruiter will use phrases like, "It's entirely your decision," or "We'd love to have you, but only if you feel it's right for you." This isn't about respecting your autonomy. It's a deliberate tactic called the illusion of free will. By telling you it's your choice, they bypass your brain's natural defenses against external pressure. Think of it like this. If someone shoves you into a swimming pool, you'll fight to get out. But if they say, "Hey, you're free to jump in whenever you want, no pressure," and then you jump in yourself, you're less likely to question if it was a good idea. Your brain is now emotionally invested because you were the one who made the decision. You become an active participant in your own manipulation. The cult isn't just selling you a belief system. It's selling you the idea that you, and you alone, discovered this path. They're not building a cage, they're giving you the keys and letting you lock yourself in. Number 8. The invisible wall. So you're in the group and you're feeling great. You've attended the events, you've made the choice to be there, and you're buzzing with that sweet, sweet dopamine. But what about your old life? Your friends, your family, the person who keeps texting you to ask why you haven't called them back? The cult doesn't need to explicitly tell you to cut these people off. That would be too obvious. Instead, they build a psychological barrier so effective, you'll feel like you're the one building it. They start by creating a new social circle, a replacement family, filled with people who understand you and believe what you believe. Your old friends, meanwhile, are labeled as outsiders or non-believers. You go to a family dinner and suddenly the conversation feels wrong. You can't talk about your new spiritual journey because they just won't get it. They ask you why you're spending so much time at the center, and you feel a defensive, almost protective instinct kick in. You start to see their concern not as love, but as an attack on your newfound happiness. This is what's called in-group, out-group psychology, and it's one of the most powerful tricks in the book. Your brain is hardwired to trust people who are part of your tribe, and to be suspicious of people who aren't. The cult just gave you a new tribe and labeled your old one as the enemy. They didn't have to build a physical wall. They built one in your mind. And you're the one who keeps adding more bricks to it every time you choose to hang out with your new group instead of your old friends. It's like being given a brand new toy that's always in a different room than your old toys, so eventually you just forget the old ones exist. Number 7, your brain's best lawyer. You've invested a lot at this point. Time, money, emotional energy. Maybe you've quit your job to be a full-time spiritual seeker, or spent your life savings on a retreat to a remote location. Things are going to start getting weird. The group might ask you to do things that, to your pre-cult self, would have seemed bizarre or even dangerous. Maybe they make you eat only raw vegetables for a month, or force you to give up your cell phone. And at some point, a little voice in the back of your head will start to whisper, "This is weird." This is where the cult's next psychological trap kicks in, a phenomenon called cognitive dissonance. In simple terms, your brain absolutely hates when your actions don't match your beliefs. So instead of admitting you made a mistake, which would be a hit to your ego and make you feel like an idiot, your brain will act as its own lawyer and argue in your defense. It will find a way to justify your strange new behaviors. Eating only raw vegetables isn't weird, it's cleansing your body. Giving up your cell phone isn't a sign of isolation, it's a way to connect with yourself. The more you invest in the group, the more your brain will work overtime to make sure you believe that every single one of your bizarre decisions was a brilliant, necessary step on your path to enlightenment. Your mind is basically a master of post-rationalization. It's the same reason why, after you spend $300 on a coat, you convince yourself it's the warmest, most stylish coat you've ever owned, even though it's a little itchy and the sleeves are too short. Number 6, the all-nighter. You know that feeling of being so tired you start to see things in a whole new light? The world gets a little wobbly, your thoughts get a little fuzzy, and suddenly you're laughing at something that isn't even funny. That's your brain on sleep deprivation, and it's a state that every cult leader dreams of. This is the next phase of your journey into a life of communal living and questionable belief systems, the all-nighter. The workshops and seminars, which started out as fun and exciting, are now extending late into the night. You're told you're pushing past your limits or breaking through your old self. But in reality, you're just running on empty. When you're severely sleep deprived, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought, decision-making, and critical analysis, basically goes on vacation. It's too tired to do its job. Meanwhile, the emotional, more primal parts of your brain are running wild. You become more suggestible, more emotional, and less capable of spotting a logical fallacy even if it hit you in the face. It's a classic tactic. They don't need a mind control device. They just need to keep you awake long enough for your own brain to turn on itself. You're not having a spiritual epiphany. You're just having the emotional equivalent of a toddler throwing a tantrum because they need a nap. Except you've been convinced it's the most profound moment of your life. It's like being so exhausted you accidentally agree to buy a used car with no tires, and then you spend the rest of your life defending your decision. Number 5, the love bomb. Remember how you felt when you first walked in the door? Everyone was so nice, so welcoming, so excited to see you. It felt like you had finally found your people, your tribe. This isn't just good manners. It's a deliberate and aggressive form of psychological manipulation known as love bombing. In the beginning, the cult showers you with an overwhelming amount of affection, attention, and flattery. You are the most special, most intelligent, most spiritually gifted person they have ever met. They tell you that you are a vital part of the group, and they make you feel like you are finally seen and understood. Your brain, which is desperately seeking connection and validation, drinks this up like a thirsty sponge. But here's the sinister part. This intense affection is not unconditional. It's a tool. It's an emotional mortgage. Once you're fully committed, the love starts to withdraw, slowly but surely. The validation you once got for free now has to be earned. You have to prove your loyalty. You have to follow the rules. Suddenly, their affection is conditional, and your brain, already addicted to that initial rush of acceptance, will do anything to get it back. The love you're getting now isn't the real thing. It's a leash. The cult didn't love you. It just wanted you to feel loved, so it could get you to do whatever it wanted. Number 4. The language prison. So you're in. You've gone through the workshops, you've experienced the love, and you're starting to believe in the mission. But to truly lock you in, the cult needs to do one more thing. It needs to change the way you think. It does this by giving you a brand new vocabulary. You'll stop using words like doubt or criticism and start using words like spiritual confusion or negative energy. They give you new jargon, new phrases, and new cliches that are designed to stop any critical thought in its tracks. For example, if you have a question about the group's finances, you're not a concerned member. You're being overly skeptical and need to trust the process. These phrases aren't just empty words, they're cognitive shortcuts. They're thought-stopping cliches. Instead of having a real conversation, you just repeat a pre-packaged phrase, and the conversation is over. The cult isn't just changing your mind, it's changing the very language you use to think with, effectively building a prison out of words. You're not allowed to question the group because you no longer have the words to do it. You've been given a dictionary with all the inconvenient words removed, and you're now living in a world where it's literally impossible to express disagreement. It's like having your phone's autocorrect feature reprogrammed to change "I have a question" to "I am full of faith." Number 3, the disappearing self. You've got your new vocabulary, a new group of friends, and a new way of thinking. But the cult isn't done with you yet. The final piece of the puzzle is to erase the old you and replace it with a version of you that fits perfectly inside their box. This is called identity erosion, and it's a terrifyingly simple process. The cult starts by subtly devaluing your past. Your old interests? They're just worldly distractions. Your old job? It was just a spiritual dead end. Your former sense of humor, or your favorite music, or your unique way of looking at the world, they're all labeled as ego-driven or unproductive. In their place, the group provides you with a new, pre-packaged identity. You become a disciple, a light bringer, or a truth seeker. All your energy and passion are now channeled into the group's activities. You stop playing guitar and start chanting. You stop reading fiction and start reading their holy texts. Your brain, which is constantly trying to build a coherent sense of self, just swaps out the old parts for the new ones, because they're the only parts that are being actively reinforced. You lose your personal tastes, your unique opinions, and your entire history of self-discovery, because it's replaced with a script. It's like buying a new car and then being told that the only thing you're allowed to do is listen to the one radio station that the dealership pre-selected for you, and after a while, you just forget that other radio stations exist. Number 2, the sunk cost fallacy. So you've spent months, maybe years, dedicating yourself to the group. You've given up your old friends, your old career, and your old sense of self. And then, one day, something happens. A question slips through the cracks. A small doubt that your brain's lawyer can't quite argue away. You start to see that maybe this isn't what you thought it was. Maybe this isn't a spiritual awakening, but a group of people in matching shirts being told what to think. This is the moment when the most powerful anchor of all kicks in. The sunk cost fallacy. This is the psychological trick where your brain convinces you to stay in a bad situation just because you've already invested so much. Think about it. You're not going to leave a movie you hate after 45 minutes if you paid $20 for the ticket, right? You're going to stay and force yourself to find some redeeming quality in the plot, because leaving would mean admitting that the $20 you spent was a waste. The cult has made you pay with not just money, but with your friends, your family, your identity, and your time. If you leave now, it means admitting that all of that was for nothing. Your brain, in its infinite wisdom, would rather you stay in a bad situation than admit you were wrong. It's a cruel, self-inflicted prison built not out of bars, but out of your own bad choices. Number 1, the unsinkable ship. At the end of the day, all of these psychological tricks, the sugar high lie, the illusion of free will, the invisible wall, the love bomb, the language prison, the disappearing self, the sunk cost fallacy, all lead to one final destination. A place where you are the guard, the prisoner and the architect of your own cage. The cult doesn't need to force you to stay because you've become the most effective gatekeeper of all, yourself. You have been conditioned to believe that the outside world is a dark, dangerous, and confusing place. You've been given a new purpose that feels grand and important, and leaving would mean returning to a world where you are just a regular person with a regular job and a regular life. The cult has convinced you that outside of their bubble, you are worthless. So you stay. You continue to rationalize, you continue to invest, and you continue to defend the group to your old friends and family, not because you believe the group's lies, but because you need to believe your own. Because the thought of admitting that you gave up your life for a psychological carnival ride is more terrifying than the thought of staying on the ride forever. The cult didn't just change your mind. It made you so emotionally, psychologically, and intellectually dependent on it that the very idea of leaving feels like jumping out of a spaceship without a helmet. You've been conned, and the only person left to con is yourself.